Hello, and welcome to our SI622 project with OmegaPoint. OmegaPoint seeks to simplify the way that asset and portfolio managers utilize financial data to make the most well-informed investment decisions. Usage of the OmegaPoint platform largely is for expert financial users who have had previous experience with other financial systems such as the Bloomberg Terminal. For this project, we worked mostly with Edgar Nunez, a UMSI alum and former student of 622. For some background on our team, we have 4 key members of our team: Kenji, Ruta, Xiaoyang, and Yinji. Next, I want to take a look at the methods that we used. So we first started with an interaction map, followed by interviews, survey, comparative analysis, heuristic evaluation, and then finally, usability tests. The interaction map allowed us to better understand how a user would interact with the current system. Next, we went into interviews, which was really split into 2 parts. So first, we set up stakeholder interviews to understand the goals of our client. The aim for our project was to improve the overall user experience of OmegaPoint and learn more about how OmegaPoint can expand beyond their core target audience of portfolio managers. Our user interviews gave us early insight into uncovering the target audience's needs and pain points when using portfolio analytics tools. From here, we then went into a comparative analysis. So we used both a comparative matrix as well as a 2x2 matrix to compare OmegaPoint to direct, indirect, parallel, and analogous competitors, really allowing us to discover OmegaPoint's strengths and weaknesses. The 2x2 matrix that you see here shows how OmegaPoint compares to 9 competitors on the dimensions of intuitiveness and customizability. Following the comparative analysis, we then did a survey. So we really wanted to expand upon the findings from the interviews as well as the comparative analysis through this survey, and so we recruited participants using both Facebook ads and posting in financial investing forums. The goal of this survey was to dig a little bit deeper into learning more about respondents' work habits and portfolio analytics tools preferences. After surveys, we used Nielsen's 10 heuristics to take a first look into discovering potential usability issues within the OmegaPoint system. Finally, we conducted 4 usability tests with potential users to really get a full and in-depth look into the usability issues that they potentially face with OmegaPoint. So, meet Andrew. He's really an ideal user of OmegaPoint. He's an investment advisor who lives in New York City, 29 years old, and has 5 years of work experience. He's mostly used Bloomberg before, but he's really open to trying out new portfolio analytics tools. He loves the power of Bloomberg, but thinks that the user interface is pretty terrible. He uses this tool on his laptop, his desktop, and mobile, so he needs the tool to adjust to his work lifestyle. Key finding number 1 is that Andrew really wants a way to quickly find definitions or further insight to any term or object that he sees within the OmegaPoint system. He's used to this. As a Bloomberg user, he's so used to being able to click on any element on the screen, whether that's a definition or a stock that he wants some more information about. So you'll see here that he doesn't really understand what GMV means. But in the context of this, he's not able to continue on with his work. Potentially he has to go to Google to find out exactly what this term means. Our recommendation is to make this user experience better by providing a Bloomberg-style interface where you can actually click on any object, whether that's a term or a stock, and the user can get more information about it. This will allow the users to be much happier and allow them to go along with their workflow. For our key finding number 2, we found that Andrew doesn't inherently trust the data presented at face value, so transparency is needed. As a financial advisor, he is really trained to question the validity of any data that he is shown and will want to know the source of this data and how it is calculated. For instance, when we take a look at the chart presented here, Andrew isn't sure how style risk is calculated or what model was used to generate this chart. He isn't sure how style risk relates to some of the subcategories such as ROE and volatility. So our recommendation is therefore to provide more transparency into the calculations behind the data presented to the users. For instance, with style risk, in order to trust this chart presented to him, Andrew will want to know the source of this data and how style risk was calculated. Furthermore, OmegaPoint can instill trust in its users by providing a separate methodologies page, which describes their investment methodology and gives insights into the models that they use. Our third and final finding is that Andrew lacks understanding of the simulations page. First, prior to even clicking on this tab, he's unfamiliar with its nomenclature and uncertain of whether this tool will allow him to perform historical or future analysis. Second, when going to simulations, there is no guidance as to what Andrew can accomplish on this page. Third, because he is on a laptop, he is unable to see the whole screen and therefore misses out on some key features like where he can input his targets. In our surveys, we actually found that 43% of the respondents access their portfolio analytics tools from their laptops. Our third recommendation is therefore to first be mindful of the devices that users will access OmegaPoint from and ensure that on any device, especially laptops, the full simulations page is visible. Second, when a user first lands on the simulations page, a short tutorial should be provided. This tutorial should offer cues as to what the user is able to accomplish within this page. We believe that with this information, user engagement with the simulations page will increase. In terms of potential limitations of our project, there were a few. First, interviewees and those participants in usability testing tended to skew a little bit towards the younger and less experienced demographic, which may have affected our report. Second, our team also experienced a steep learning curve trying to penetrate this more specialized industry. So we have three next steps for our client OmegaPoint. The first would be to take a look at naming conventions. This came up in both our comparative analysis as well as the usability test, where users weren't really too sure what simulations meant. In other tools, we found this was commonly referred to as what-if analysis or scenario planning. The second step would be to take a look a little bit more deeper at users and their experience with Bloomberg. Specifically, there needs to be research done onto how a user could see the value in OmegaPoint over Bloomberg. In short, it is necessary to discover the key features that will make a user switch from Bloomberg Terminal to OmegaPoint. And finally, because the design team at OmegaPoint has more experience in this space and expertise, we believe that further usability tests should be conducted as they may reveal deeper insights.